What's up, guys? Welcome back to Egít Creationism. I'm Egít Le Vwayajè, a multidisciplined artist from Philadelphia. I'm here today to talk a little bit about my second painting that's a part of the Divine Emergence series, part 1. This is the second painting, the second installment, or you should say, where basically I was able to capture how I saw or how I perceive what is considered the 12 laws of the universe. You know, being able to take something that's abstract in concept and be able to form it into pigmentation, into forms, into colors, into sight, into symbols. Me being connected to spirituality, I understood that, you know, everything is not accidental. Everything has a purpose, everything has a sequence, and everything is a pattern, you know. And when creating this painting, I basically was like, it started as a sketch. You know, I started sketching one day and I was just like drawing ring circles, and I'm like, I don't know what this is going to be, but whatever I got to say, I'm going to get it on this paper. And before you know it, I had unconsciously drew 12 circles around the ring, and I was like, the idea came to my head, the 12 laws of the universe. So I was like, how can I transfer this into a painting? And I grabbed my canvas, and this took about, I want to say 3 weeks for it to come fully encircled, because I didn't really know what I wanted to convey or what I wanted to show. But in retrospect, I realized at the end that I'm like, I basically captured the 12 laws of the universe. You know, the law of correspondence, the law of oneness, the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, you know, the law of polarity, you know, things like that. Understanding masculine and feminine energy, understanding that there's always something more than what we can see. And that's basically how I came to all these symbols. And I'm going to go over a few symbols that I found that was meaningful for me. And I also learned that, like, sometimes the meaning changes. You know, from when I first created this painting a few months ago, back in, I believe, June, the meanings and things like that have changed over time. And that's what I love about storytelling. That's what I love about art. It changes. It's never the same twice. You know, I'm never the same twice. So of course my interpretations of something is never going to be the same twice. So before, you know, the red and the blue represented constructs of heaven and hell. How, you know, you can create heaven and hell on earth right here based off of the actions and choices that you make. But now it's like, I look at it again and I go, okay, this can represent, you know, truth. This can represent flow. You know, red can represent chaos. You know, sometimes life is both beautiful and chaotic at the same time. When I look at the eye, I'm like, this is the all-seeing eye. This is the observer. This is the creator. This is one who's orchestrating all of this and keeping everything in balance. When I look at the vortexes that I drew, you know, that's the void space that sometimes we can enter when things are unbalanced, when we're not balanced. But even when we're not balanced, that is a part of the process. You know, sometimes you have to be unbalanced to understand what balance is. Sometimes you have to experience bad to know what good is. You have to experience good to know what bad is. And that's basically the duality. Life is about duality, balance, equilibrium. You know, it's like all of this forms completion. The gold represents divinity. You know, even though we might take something that seems bad or something like it could be viewed still as divinity. Like, you're still divine if you drink. You're still divine if you smoke. It's all about how you choose to balance yourself. And it's like, to look at life through a different lens, through a different perspective. You know, the swirls can represent eternity. Like, we're constantly in a spiral case. We're never looping. We're always going somewhere, either up or down. You choose what you decide. And you know how they converge together is because you cannot have one without the other. And before, I used to look at it, the constructs of heaven and hell, because, you know, religion teaches us that heaven is a place you want to get to, when it is that heaven is a state of mind. Heaven is a state of being. You can create heaven on earth right now if you change your mindset, if you change your outlook and perspective on life. You know, when you look at the blue, you can see that it can represent truth, it can represent water, it can represent stillness. You know, it's all in the lens and view of how you look at it. And that's what I want people, when they look at my paintings, to feel something. I want them to see something, and how you interpret it. How I interpret it might not be how another views it, you know? You know, for me, it's like the 12 laws of the universe represents how everything is formulating together to create reality. All of this is what creates reality. How you perceive someone, how they perceive you. You know, understanding that life is just a projection of your eternal state. That's why the all-seeing eye is yourself. because you're the viewer, you're the creator, you're the one creating your life, you're the one who's making your decisions, you're the one who's interacting with people. When you open up a new door, when you get a new job, when you pick up a certain food, that's you creating your reality. When I pick up my brush and I paint, I'm creating a new reality. I'm forming realities into pigmentation. I'm literally being able to translate my thoughts or bringing form from the ethers down into earth, because all of this came from my imagination. You know, this didn't come from me watching something or me looking at something. I just took a pencil and started drawing, and then I said, how can I transform this into more? How can I transform this into a message? How can I transform this into symbolism? And it's like, I want people to just observe, to look, to see for themselves, and base it off of their own interpretation. Don't just go off of my words. You know, I want you to hear it and see how I view myself and how I view the world. But I also want you guys to take that and be like, what do you feel when you see this? Like, I feel as though, like, I see, like, the swirling parts. It's like, if you didn't have the 12 laws, then life in itself would not be complete. You know, people always go, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And it's like, you have to pull yourself out of the situation and go, what is this trying to teach me? What am I learning? Because all of this is order. All the 12 laws of the universe do is create order and balance. So it's like, humans take morality and be like, that's good or bad, when really all it is balance. You know, if you were mean to somebody and you years ago, and then someone's being mean to you today, you might not understand that your actions from 12 years ago was definitely affecting you in the now. So it was like, it's a ripple effect, because life is cyclical. That's why it's also in the ring formation, because life is a cycle. You go through seasons, you repeat, and you can transform within those cycles. The moon goes through cycles, the sun goes through cycles. We all go through phases, and it's all about, you know, completion. You know, 360, like you're finding completion, you're finding alignment. And that's what the gold also represents. Like, it keeps changing. Like, it can represent divinity, it can represent timelines, it can represent I just forgot what I was about to say, but it's like, it just can represent so many things. And it's like, I want people to get that. Like, art is so subjective to your own personal experience. It's about what you choose to see. And this is the foundation. This painting is number 2, because it's the foundation of what we see as the first part, which was the matrix. That is what we're placed in. We're placed into the matrix. We're placed into false beliefs, into false systems. But this is the original blueprint. This is the origins of where all of creation comes from, because they're all working together to bring up this reality. And it's like, you guys are going to get to learn more and experience more of how I even see the world. The more I talk about my paintings, the more I do these things. I am eventually going to create a YouTube channel where I just get to sit and break down every single aspect of this painting, how my own thought processes on it has evolved from June to October. But again, you know, I want you guys to feel what I'm saying, to hear what I'm saying, and, you know, take it for yourself. Be like, what does this make you feel? What do you see in it? And I want you guys to share. I want everybody to, like, be like, damn, I felt that. Or, damn, this is what I thought about it. Because it's like, this is to teach and show people that nothing is by accident. Your actions, your choices, the things that happen to you aren't by accident. They are by your own choosing. And then the universe is just responding to your energy. That's all this is. This is energy and pigmentation. This was my own feelings into this, my own interpretation, my own thoughts. And this came solely from exploration. I had no idea how this was going to look. I had no idea how this was going to turn out. But what came about is a story. Art is story. Art is remembrance. Art is remembering who we are. Art connects us to our humanity. And through my art, through my creation, I wish to bridge that to people. So if you guys want to know more, if you guys want to follow for more, you know, you can like, comment, follow. I'm here, and I'm going to bring out more, and I hope you guys fuck with it. I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, Egít Creationism out.